we were saying is when they tied this Redskins football deal in with the Catholic Church and Bon Secours and healthcare, all associated with taxes, that none of these entities, and the NFL doesn't pay any taxes, are going to pay taxes after getting this huge giveaway. So when people say, we won when the Redskins won, I would say, if you comprehend that the Redskins aren't going to pay your taxes, your water bill, your rent, then I will say you definitely lost by having any association with something called the Washington Redskins, because they're stealing your money and they don't care about you. And it's not we. If it was we, and we were part of this multi-billion-dollar organization, we would be receiving a paycheck instead of paying them. I mean, this is just one of these things. And this segues into a lot of what Glenn and I talk about and a lot of what I've heard from smarter people. And I'm always talking to either smarter people or smarter persons and citizens, because I'll learn how not to act by talking to them. I'll learn not how to behave. So what I do, and this is why I challenge everyone out there right up to their faces, is because these aren't my thoughts. This isn't my information. I have received some sort of communication and information to allow me to speak. But what I do is I go along with the provable fact and the most likely scenario. But what everyone else in mainstream society wants persons, people, and citizens to think is they want them to believe the provably false and the least likely scenario. Think about how ridiculous just about every story that appears on the news is.
Hold that thought. We got a caller. Caller, thank you for tuning in. You're here with Chris Dorsey.
Yeah, what are y'all saying all that for?
What are we saying?
Y'all got a city y'all going to?
Say it again?
Y'all got a city that y'all going to?
A city?
Yeah, you trying to change something?
Uh-oh. Are we trying to change something?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely trying to change just about everything.
What are you trying to change?
I'm trying to change the criminal government and give people, make people realize that they have God-given freedoms and that they're getting used as slaves by the government, and everything that the government pays for is criminal and unlawful.
I'm trying to wake you up. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wake you up, sir.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. What are you doing?
If it don't apply, let it apply.
I mean, like, it's amazing how
You been saying,
we just, yeah.
a new city y'all going to?
Like, no, I mean, but this is the answer of people. They have made you believe that ignorance is the best result. He would rather us just not know.
Right.
And it's like, I mean, let's just all be dumb.
I mean, another city?
I don't even
that would be, that wouldn't be bad. I mean, a lot of people are stuck here. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I'll tell you, if one has a lot of money, they could live comfortably anywhere, even Philadelphia or Baltimore or Detroit, or Richmond for that matter, because if one's not rich, they're not really living that great in the city of Richmond. But to pretend that anything that the government gives is acceptable, that's just ridiculous. That's provably false and the least likely scenario.
And I guarantee that guy they called, I guarantee he's either tired of some football game or he's going to church, and he doesn't ever ask the preacher, why are we doing this? Because the preacher never gives him a reason to ask that question, because he doesn't learn one thing. All the time he's going to church, he's always singing and dancing and being entertained, and no one is educating him or giving him anything to even begin to think about. We never think about anything. Nobody's thinking at all. I mean, it kills me how even in school they're teaching your children not to think. They're programmed. They just want you to get up, put your bell
on the computer now.
What about the drugging? They want to destroy critical thought. They want to eliminate it from all, parts of society in every way, and they will drug you. They've been doing it since I was a kid. They've been drugging everybody.
And what do they always tell us? Two things you never talk about is rude to talk about. Religion and politics. And let me tell you why they always tell you that.
Yep.
Because they're scared that we might get together and start doing right what we're doing. We're doing exactly what we're doing right now. And we're going to begin to think and talk. And I'm going to say something ain't right, Chris. We're sitting around and we're thinking, but then when they tell us that's rude, don't talk about religion and politics. You need to wake up. The problem is where you're getting your information needs to get this information.
Well, I'll tell you what's rude, too. The government stealing your money and smiling in your face. The government taking your money and using it to bomb children in other countries. That's rude. That's rude.
And he doesn't have a problem with it.
And how about this? We don't even have to go to other countries. Look at how many dumb cops are just going out killing retarded people. Going out, choking out and tasing, 12-year-old little girls. Shooting people in their own house during a raid on the wrong I mean, man, what did they say? Like, the amount of American civilians killed by police is like, 7 to 10 times the amount of people that died on 9/11. Man, we are under martial law. We are run by these criminals. I'm not. But what I'm saying is, I'm going to read this right now because this is Virginia law, and this will tie back to what I'm saying. If you are a people, then anytime you see any government agent or agency or individual that holds any sort of government job, all you need to know and all that there is to know is that is your servant. That individual under the law works for you, and the only thing that they are to do under the law is to protect your property, which is everything you work for. That's it. All power is vested and consequently derived from the people, that magistrates and their trustees and servants, and at all times amenable to them. That means, tell me that means something different than the people are in charge. We the people ordain the government. What does that mean? The people are in charge. Citizens are under the jurisdiction of the United States government. What does that mean? Why would you want to be a citizen? Okay, so I'll tell you the most important, and we operate under the constitutional Virginia militia. Everywhere we are, which is including this spot, this is the militia. This might as well be called militia radio. This is the Virginia militia. I'm communicating out through the radio. It might as well be militia radio because it is. And what I will say is that our number one weapon, I've got my 380 on me right now. I don't step outside my house without that. So if you don't see it on me, it's never concealed. It's always on me. So what I'm saying is my most important weapon is the camera. Is this microphone. This is the militia operating. This is my weapon, and I'm trained using this weapon. That video camera is Glenn's weapon. He's trained. Pastor Scarborough is trained using his weapons. And so what we're saying is that, we're going to muster the militia. We're going to be out there at the Virginia State Capitol. They just cut 600 jobs. They're going to cut, much more. They got a huge budget shortfall. They got, all sorts of perverts and sexual deviants and buggers and every sort of foul, compromised individual that you can get. Oh, by the way, if anyone other than Preston Brown wins that House of Delegates race, then nothing should be paid attention to anything that the actual member of the delegates says. But what I should say without getting too far off is that if people show up and they've got a camera, they need to get in front of the individual office holder, and they need to say, look, you need to answer to us, because here's what I'm going to say. A well-regulated militia, this is the law, this is from Virginia Constitution. composed of the body of the people, trained to arms, is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state, that standing armies in time of peace should be avoided as dangerous to liberty, well, there's that liberty word again, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. That means the people. So if you don't like the word militia, that means that you say you don't want to protect yourself. That's saying that you don't want to be in charge of the government. That's like saying you want someone else to rule over you, and I will not agree to that. I will not have somebody
But
ruling
see,
over
you know,
me.
what's amazing to me is when you get callers like that, who, after you've now laid out you just laid out a number of reasons amongst many. Like, I need to ask you the question, caller. What are you going to do? Don't ask me what are we doing. What are you going to do? Because at the end of the day, I know you're going to go down and vote. Is that the best thing you got?
That's really cool.
Is that the best thing y'all got is to go vote?
Get a sticker. You get a sticker.
Let me tell you something. You know what? It's time to stop being stupid.
Just like in elementary school, you
I'm
get a
going to say this
sticker.
right now. Yeah, you get a sticker, a star.
Right.
We can talk about that
Just
too.
like they do in elementary school for children.
Because you are children. You're infantile. And that's another thing that you don't know that they stay in their lives.
Yes.
And you adults, so-called adults, you're living a nursery. When you look up that word nursery in Black's Law, you're on a farm. It's really what it is. And let me say this to you, brother, while you're asking. You think voting is going to do it? I mean, it makes my skin crawl when I hear people say, just get out and vote. But let me say, it's much deeper than that. First of all, the whole idea of a vote, since we're coming up on November, is based upon them giving you certain choices. And they don't just start with President Obama versus this other candidate. They start with Burger King and McDonald's.
That's right.
Y'all don't get it.
Coke and Pepsi.
They start with Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah.
They always want you to
Redskins,
believe.
Cowboys.
There you go. They always want you to
Crimson blood.
Bingo.
Red or blue.
Black or white.
They want you to think that you are in control. And they did, like Dick Gregory always said, they want you to believe you can, you're actually playing a part. A vote, when you go to the polls, I told y'all a million times, what is polls? It's something you put electricity in.
That's right.
You put your energy into the polls.
That's right.
And that's what they're doing. They're taking a survey. A poll is a survey.
Let's go to election.
Go ahead.
We'll get into all the L words, like capable, and then I want to get into the ship
Why L?
categories.
Why L? Why L?
L.
Which is Baal, for those who are listening, Baal worship.
Right.
And it also roots back to all the L words, Chris, let me bounce off you.
Electricity.
Bingo.
Election.
Election. Elite.
Elite.
Elect. Elevated. All of these words are to represent somebody who's above you, has been made above you, and this is dealing with the word L.
Baal, and all the BLE words. Capable.
Right.
And similar things like that.
Right.
You know, that, and then we can go into where we get into law of the sea and all this, and get into the ship concept, where you
Talk
go
about that.
Friendship, citizenship.
Right.
Pastor Scarborough.
Yes, sir. I forgot. No, I'm sorry. I forgot you were there.
Now, y'all deep, man. I'm feeling you. And see, you give a and you are dealing with folks like my brother that's now understanding that he couldn't. I don't know if he comprehended that you were saying. These are the laws that's in place that you should be aware of, that you can exercise, and it benefits you more so than him saying, you just complain and you complain and just go to another city. But you're educating us on it. That's why a lot of folks just listening. The fact that if you do hit that poll, hit that poll, you select the right person to represent you. And thank you, Brother Dorothy, for letting them know that one of the right people will be Mr. Person T. Graham. So if you get the right person, then you can have that voice to stand boldly again, like Brother Dorothy is saying. So we got a lot that even in the church, you know, Pastor, that you've been preaching and preaching and preaching, but they have not moved yet. And they won't move until it totally affects them. That's right when they will move.
That's
so
true. That's
we
true.
got to keep doing what we're of the consciousness of the law that wasn't meant for us. We can master them if we recognize it, come together, and do what needs to be done. Because as Brother Dorsey is saying, he's already letting you know this is what the law says your foundation is. Stand on your law boldly, and we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, knowing that we even standing on man's constitutional land and sea laws. See, y'all doing a marvelous job here, man. The folks just don't understand what you're doing.
Yes,
The
sir.
right folks, and Mr. Preston T. Brown, I had to pass it. November the 4th is one of those right folks from this dialogue. And
Go ahead, Earl. Give him another shameless plug. Go ahead. Give it to him out here. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Go ahead.
I have to keep saying it because y'all are laying the foundation of what we've been going against, dealing with the just go for a D versus understanding. If you're going to support Senator Henry Moore, the last statement he stated as an iconic figure. See, they keep saying iconic figure. I have no problem with that. But he said must go. And if for them to vote for them is a damn disrespect for this person that they proceed and say is iconic because he felt and stated that he voted most of the Republicans. So all it goes to that mindset level of even that brother's like, well, I just gotta vote to D. No, you are voting D. Mr. Preston Brown is a Democrat, and he's just independent of the party, so that influence is not there to where Mr. Dorsey and Pastor Scarborough, occasionally myself, we're able to voice our opinions professionally in the General Assembly and put the spotlight on the issue just like Brother Dorsey is saying. See, when you got counted 12, 8, and 6 with that same spotlight, Brother Dorsey, and as Mike is saying, well, why aren't you providing these jobs for these folks? Because the law says you're supposed to have it for your local residents and businesses. So y'all doing a marvelous job. Thank you for the clarifier.
All right. Listen, back to what we were saying regarding, you were saying something, Chris, and I want to dealing with some more callers coming in. Let me take this caller here. 804-231-7685. We were going to talk about that banking, what we were saying before that.
We were talking about the ship and
ship.
how they view us as you know as just like a salvage at sea, and we're salvage, and we're not a person. We don't have any real rights. Obviously, we know the voting.
Hold that thought, Chris. We got a caller, and they've been trying
That's
to
the way they view some of us.
We're going to talk about that whole ship and what's going on.
Okay.
And why is it? Let's go back, because as you can see, people don't have a clue as to why we're saying these things. We need to go back to the day we're born.
Okay.
Okay, and talk about what happens. Why we're in this position. We're going to talk about that delivery. But we got to go there. But part of the problem is people are like, they think they're really free. They think they're free. They think we're crazy.
I know how we can explain it very simply, and then we'll use all the words, and they'll connect all the dots.
Caller, thank you for holding. You're on the air with Chris Dorsey.
Hello, how you doing, Pastor Rob? How you doing, Chris? How you doing?
Greetings.
Wonderful.
This is Teal Williams calling you from...
Greetings. Greetings. Good to hear from you.
Right on. I know that a lot of things that we covered today was passed over and whatnot in elementary school. You know, we were taught very many lies on television as well as in school. So I appreciate that you going over and going over the real truth and breaking everything down as best as you can in this format. But with everything that you're breaking down, please try to give folks, you know, some clues as to where they can go about and how they can go about verifying for themselves. Because, you know, you can tell folks the truth and they'll hear it, but it'll go in one ear and right out the other if they don't go back and verify for themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, we have to encourage them to go back and, you know, check things out for themselves so that, you know, they're actively learning these facts for themselves so that they can memorize and, you know, get it active in their lives. And that's all I wanted to say. You know, I don't want to take up too much time because you're getting ready to get into the whole ship thing and why, you know, maritime law is so prevalent and things like that. So I don't want to shut up and let them get a hold of this because it's real stuff that you're about to dig up into.
You know, this is going to take initiative. I mean, initiative, that's just, it's kind of a false word, but I should say this is going to take some effort. It's going to take some effort. And that's another thing we've been trained that is like allegedly a bad thing, is putting effort into things, because we're taught in school to be, you know, for lack of a better term, pretty half-assed about things. You know, and, you know, there's varying degrees of what they want you to be lazy about and not lazy about, but as far as thinking about how things work, they want everybody and train everybody just to take orders, not to ask questions. If you ask too many questions in school, that will cause problems, unless you're asking the right kind of questions for the people who want to control you 100%, which would be the wrong kind of question for freedom.
And it's the same way in church. You can't ask any questions in church.
Right.
I mean, when's the last time you've been in church and you can raise your hand in the middle of the sermon? First of all, he doesn't say anything that requires a question, because he's kind of giving you some story rocking you to sleep.
Right.
Second of all, if you have a question, you're considered unruly and out of order.
Right.
If you ask a question.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is just it's an indictment against the church itself. That's why every time we've had service, we take questions.
Oh, yeah.
And I do that because I feel like I can stand over you as some elite and demand that you follow me to God knows where, and you can't ask me a question as to where we're going.
Yeah, that would be a scam.
It's definitely a scam. The church is a scam.
Sure.
And when you were getting ready to talk about the ship.
Okay, so we were talking about what delivers a baby.
Start from the beginning. A baby is born.
A baby is born. A baby is birthed. Okay, like a ship is birthed. Okay, and the baby comes from the mother's water.
Which is called the birth canal.
The canal, exactly.
There's another water term.
High seas terminology.
The birth canals, not by mistake.
From the water, you know, so it's like you were, you know, out, now it's delivered by a, what? Doctor.
Right.
Doc.
By the way, what do you call it? When they bring in a product, because you can't take it home in your car, you get it delivered. So where is the baby born? In the delivery room.
Right.
And who delivers her? You know, she's delivered at the doc.
The doctor.
The doctor.
Okay, at the dock. By the doctor. Okay, so then one receives what they call a birth certificate, which is your citizenship manifest.
Wow.
That's what it is.
Because any ship that pulls in to just bringing in a product, if they're bringing in Nintendos, 100,000 Nintendos,
Right.
they have to present a certificate saying what's on the boat, how much it weighs, what color it is,
Sure.
so that they can give an account. Because this thing is there that wasn't there yesterday, so it's a certificate of manifest.
Right. And
certificate.
right, a birth certificate. Okay, it doesn't say that this is a live human being. It definitely insinuates that it's not a live human being.
Okay.
So, you know, until that individual goes back to those who are issuing the manifest or the birth certificate, until they go back and affirmatively say, I am a living, breathing person, then that is considered salvage at sea. It is to be treated as salvage at sea. And you can even maintain, you know, remedy. You can even use that. You can even say, yeah, I'm salvage. I require remedy.
Okay, but Chris, don't leave them behind.
Okay, I'm not going to... Yeah, sorry.
They don't know remedy, they don't know...
Okay.
Let me say this. What Chris just said is all of your children, my children, that are born and considered by government administration. They are considered, under the corporation, salvage.
Right.
Let's do a better word. Let's talk, because in a minute I want you to explain to me why you are...
Oh, yeah, they're dead, too.
Or why you operate different as not being a dead person, how you are living. But I want to get to that point.
Yeah.
So when the baby's born, I'm going to bring you to that point now, Chris. The baby's born, the first thing they do is they take the baby's foot. they put the baby's foot in ink on the paper.
Right.
Because that's the print. Well, why do they do that?
Well, they're taking the blood now, too.
Okay, alright. Big, that's even better. So now,
So they have the blood, and so that's them saying, we're in control.
we're in control. But why do they put your baby's feet on that paper? Because they're saying, we own your soul.
That's right, you're right.
The soul of your
that's
feet.
right. Yeah.
We own your soul.
Right.
And then, before your feet is ever able to touch ground, we've already put your feet in the liquid. Your feet is in the water. Because you're under, you've never walked in on land.
That's right.
And that's why even the government has pretend watermarks. The Navy, that term Navy is special too. An admiral, which is admiralty, which you get admiral of the Navy.
That's right.
They have brass cap watermarks already throughout all the land. Because this is a pretend. To them, they want you to pretend like you're still in water, even though Chris occupies. I want to ask you about this. You live like you're on the land. That's how you govern.
Free man on the land.
You're a free man on the land. Now, let me say this, because I had a conversation with you after the camera stopped last week, and I asked you, why don't you get a bunch of summons to court? How come they're not loading you up with summons, or do you get summons, or what happens? How do you feel about summons?
I responded, and we can tie this back to the crooked Richmond City Democratic Committee. The last time, and I don't think they call it a summons, but I was a witness, and also one of the officers of the Democratic Committee attempted to kill me, and then a bunch of lawyers involved in the Democratic Committee, and the Commonwealth's attorney, and Victoria Pearson, and the Richmond police, they all attempted to cover it up for a while, and I had to do some tactics to make it so that they didn't. That's the last time I will respond to anything involved in the court. And I didn't operate under the rules of the court. When the judge was out of order, I told the judge they were out of order. I had to have stern talks with the Commonwealth's attorney.
You told the judge.
Oh yeah, I mean,
You didn't have an attorney.
well, the Commonwealth's attorney was attempting to prove what I wanted to prove, and that J.C. Wilmore was guilty against the state, for assault, because, I wanted it to be on some sort of public record. This guy was also a member of the Bar Association. This guy basically, this was a month after the Richmond police and leadership of the Richmond Democratic Committee attempted to set me up and have me arrested at a meeting where I was basically, I know how to operate. I know what Robert's rules are. I know how to be in order and what is out of order. And they attempted to have me arrested, and they were conspiring with the Richmond police to intimidate people inside a meeting. At the next meeting, at the same place, the SunTrust building, an officer of the Democratic Committee named J.C. Wilmore, who works for Tim Kaine and Don McKeechin and a bunch of other crooked lawyers around this town, he attempted to kill me in front of a witness, at the SunTrust building, and SunTrust, hid or destroyed the videotape of this. The police attempted to cover it up at the time, and so did the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and I had to use a lot of tactics to even get this out. Like, this stuff happened for all to see, and yet they're attempting to. So this is one of those things where I don't necessarily get away with these things.
Right.
It's just that I'm difficult to kill because they have attempted it before, and now I'm even more difficult to kill. But I do notice that the police tend to attack me. I was last attacked inside the Westover Baptist Church at a Forest View Neighborhood Association meeting by a cop. And here's the thing. He attacked me. This is the cop at the Neighborhood Association meeting who was ordering other cops around, who is still anonymous, except for he's had, a couple thousand people see him on YouTube. He knows I'm in a church. I will, from now on, bring guns into a church, but there's one place I didn't bring my gun. They could see I wasn't packed, and this is when they decided to attack me. I was down at the SunTrust Bank the last time they attempted to attack me. Because you can't go into a bank with a gun. Which, it makes absolutely no sense. That means that this bank is not part of the United States, which is true. It's not under the rules of the United States of America, which is true. But what I'm saying is, these guys are cowards. And I will say this, keep going and see what happens. I say this to government agents. If you are not a treasonous scumbag who is a waste of oxygen, your job is to arrest your boss. Your job is to arrest your boss and contact the militia and say, we are turning this over to you. It's not being like, certain individuals in the Richmond Police Department who, follow me around like William Smith on my way to work and then say, oh, I'm on your side, Chris. I'm this, I'm that, and then cover up a bunch of shit. I mean, come on. Maybe you're not as bad as Ray Tarasovic or John Venuti or English or Steve Drew or the rest of it, but, there has to be a good cop to be a bad cop. And if there are any good cops out there, which there aren't, there are not, there absolutely are not in any way, they would be arresting all the bad cops.
The mayor too, eh?
What, what is that thing? Like, we were talking about these dualities, red-blue dualities. What's the ultimate duality? Good cop, bad cop. Right. Come on. What is a cop? You want to say something? I see these, Yankee carpet-bagging cops who come down here with their shaved heads from New York and say, oh, we're Irish cops. Man, you ain't nothing. You ain't anything. You're nothing. You probably, we'll see your DNA test to see if you're even Irish. So why don't you just do as you're told? Follow the rules from your ruler, which you're listening to now. If you are in government, you are listening to your ruler, the people, a man under the law. Your job is to arrest the treasonous person on top of you in the chain of command. This goes all the way up to the top. And the real job that we're pushing forward when we say we're mustering the militia, when we stand in front of the IRS with automatic weapons and say how criminal these people are, it's only a matter of time till others join us. That's what we're saying. And we're only upholding the law. And if anybody does anything to stop us, they are enemies of the law.
On that thought, I know we're jumping, but I gotta say this. What do you say about those? Somebody asked me this last week at Bible study after last Tuesday. He said, do you think he's one of these guys that's getting ready to gear up for and this is how they describe it, some revolution? And then there's a show that comes on TV called Revolution. I don't know if you've ever seen it. You ever seen it? It's interesting though, because I believe there's something in there, and it's
a predictive program,
right,
or misleading.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, if something's on TV, it's okayed by the Mossad, the Defense Department, and the CIA.
What are you going to say? Because you do believe that their agenda is to try to take all the guns. You believe that, right? You believe that's
they are already doing it. They're already doing it.
What do you think is going to happen? Because see, when you're dealing with guns, you're not just dealing with the young black teenager, that's in the hood with the 9mm. They have a lot of powerful white people. They got gun shops. I mean, they got guns galore. You think they're going to give up their guns?
Well, I think that a lot of those individuals will not have to, because they're already under such mind control. You want to talk about, sycophantic servants of the Zionist state. I will talk about, and I will not call them people, I will talk about white persons. I will talk about the dumbed down, beaten down, slavish white persons that make up the vast majority of the masses of the public. And I will say, we do not need them. They're not going to be able to walk around with all that. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying. Matter of fact, let's take this call. Caller, you're holding with Chris Dorsey. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, Dr. Ryan, good shooting.
What's going on? You're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I've been hearing this thing one thing, man. I really do appreciate the fact that y'all get on here and share the truth. And anybody that seems like they get offended by it kind of makes my mind just go boom for real, because y'all never ask for anything. Y'all never ask for a relationship. Y'all never ask to try to promote yourself and nothing like that. You come in here, you give this truth, you say the truth, put the you do the whole message on. You came out church, man, and I appreciate the fact that you were so passionate about saying the truth. I'm not asking for anything from the people. People want them to know. And then saying that people get offended by it.
Right.
Yeah, I would just like to say, all I'm saying is that you are in charge. You all are given free will.
They can't believe
You
it.
can be either a slave and a servant, or you can be completely free. And one thing where I do get somewhat antagonistic with certain individuals is their slavish mentality affects my freedom. The fact that everybody, I'm saying, I'm advocating everybody act like me, and people wouldn't have to be as histrionic. They wouldn't have to be as bold. If everyone walked around with a gun, we'd have a much more polite society. And well, the thing is, like, you know, it's everybody's right, and if
No, not yet. Chris Dawes says.
if one is really like,
Wait a minute.
you know, free, then they shouldn't have to be under the jurisdiction of anyone. I guess I'm kind of getting off here, but what I'm saying is, as the people, you have the choice to be free or not to be free. You have the choice to listen to somebody. Here, we'll tie it back to this. Okay. The school system. People are required to send their children to school. Under the law, anything your labor it creates is your property. So, what just about every single American has decided to do is to give their authority over their number one valued possession, their own children, to a government that clearly lies, clearly poisons our food supply and water supply, clearly steals our money, clearly buggers the American persons and citizens, children in the schools, shrinks their mind, drugs them, and that this is the thing that is required for all, and if one doesn't have an excuse not to send their children there, they will wind up in jail. Well, how is that?
All right, Chris, let me say this. And once again, let me say this to everybody listening, first of all. We have not stayed on one topic, and it's impossible to do it, because everything ties in some way with each other. I don't know, I just wanted to be like we're having a barbershop conversation. But let me say this. We still did not cover any one particular thing, and we won't, and I'm not going to rush it. That's what I'm going to say. We're going up the air again. I'm wondering if you'll come back again next Tuesday.
I have dedicated my life to getting this information out, and I will never pass up such an opportunity
That's a yes.
to get it out. Yes.
All right,
Absolutely.
Because we run out of time, and let me say this. Tuesday, I'm going to invite you to come back. We're going to cover, but I want to end the show today, and I want you to touch on this Ebola.
Yeah, that's what I was about
I at
to
least
say.
want you to, and I want you to spend at least 10 minutes straight
Okay.
talking
Let's
just
do that.
about Ebola.
Okay.
When we come back, I'll be here tomorrow, and what I'm going to do tomorrow, we have a short game. That's why I'm not bringing you back tomorrow.
Okay.
We only can stay on for about 50 minutes. And so tomorrow, I'm going to come on and deal with Halloween and some of the Celtic and tie it in with the church while I have that short game. I want you to come back when you can come back.
Well, yeah, real quick, Celtic and Egyptian and a lot of the stuff in the Bible, it's all pretty much connected, you know, as we see the Holy Bible, two bulls, you know, still back to the Canaanite, Phoenician, Babylonian, Baal. But getting into Ebola. Okay, so Pastor Rob, Glenn and I were talking, and we were saying, they'll break into the news for Ebola. It's 5 minutes of the local and national news every day, and it's a local and national story. They got testing somebody here in Richmond, they're testing somebody in Culpeper, etc., etc. Okay, so this is just like the swine flu. The regular flu, that kills about 40,000 people a year. So, Ebola, it's been around in the United States, and we'll touch on this in just a second, since 1986 at least. And there's no real body count. There's already a body count with the flu. About 30 to 40,000 people die. So where are these people dying from Ebola? Shouldn't there be, deaths left and right? We also want to say that a lot of the people in these West African countries, there are massive reports of poisoning of water supplies, which has been a long-used tactic by UN and other colonialist occupiers in Africa to poison the water supply. Then what I really want to touch on is the fact that all these Ebola stories are fake. And why is the president hugging someone who allegedly just had Ebola? Why do all of these individuals have some sort of tragic and heart-string-pulling story with a dog? The dog's got Ebola now. The nose is okay, but the dog's doing that. It's just like,
hold that thought, Chris. Hold that thought. That's
Yes.
interesting. Come back to that caller waiting to talk to you. Caller on the air.
Well, actually, that's, and Mr. Dorsey, I'm sorry. Actually, that's what I was calling about by the Ebola thing, because I'm just appalled that 300,000 Africans died, and we go over there and send all this medicine, and let those folks die, and then this man had to sneak over here. And by the way, he died. They said they have no record of not helping this guy. This guy said he's sending blood, but nobody knows what happened with him sending blood. But then, again, what bothers me is this guy was staying in the house, in the apartment, with his fiancée, using the bathroom, eating, everything. But these two nurses are covered and protected from
Right.
this disease. And I just have a problem with that. They tell us don't be scared, but nobody don't know what's going on with this thing. They tell you one thing, and then they say another. And then I don't believe President Obama heard that lady. I believe that was a double take. That's my opinion, because I was like,
I don't necessarily believe that any of these people necessarily had Ebola or even existed. But what I'm saying is, they say that there's problems with Ebola. So how does the U.S. government respond? They're going to send military ground troops to the place where there's Ebola. They're not going to send doctors. Do a Google search for the term AFRICOM. Do a Google search for, oil reserves in West Africa. The diamond trade. There's so many resources that they can extract from every place. Why, if there's a sickness, why is the response sending military troops? And then you just start answering your own questions. Again, a lot of times I say, man, it's not that I'm so smart. It's just this stuff is so obvious.
And it's nothing new. I want to play a quick audio to make y'all think. This is from 1995, The Martin Show. Everybody used to watch Martin, right? 1995, Martin and, what's the short one name? Tommy. No, Cole. Martin and Cole are having a discussion about calling in sick in 1995. Y'all check this out. I hope y'all can hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Cole and Martin talking about Ebola in 1995.
Yeah, The Simpsons did an Ebola reference with, and here, there was with the Simpsons one, it was giving even more detail because it was a bedtime story, and the title of the book was Curious George and the Ebola virus. And this ties into what they call the Reston Monkey House, Fort Detrick, where they manufactured what they call the Ghana strain of the Ebola virus, and what some individuals who have worked at Fort Detrick, which is the Chemical and Biological Warfare headquarters of the United States Military Department of Defense, what they call the monkey room or the Ebola room at Fort Detrick. So again, this is documented by the Baltimore Sun in 1986. It was documented by USA Today back in the 80s as well. It's referenced, all along the way in popular culture, where they're putting this in the back of our mind. I would say most people around are old enough to remember watching the Martin Show, are old enough to watch The Simpsons back in the 90s. A lot of us, I was 12 years old then, but a lot of us were old enough to read the newspaper back in 1986. That it's there, and the same places that are having the Ebola virus, that is something's killing people, whether it's the formaldehyde in the water in combination with these viruses, but they have chemical and germ warfare of the United States Defense Department satellites in these African countries. What are they doing? What are they being accused of by government and civil leaders in these African countries? They're saying it's the United States government. It's the Central Intelligence Agency. But then you're only halfway, because what is the United States government? It is the governmental arm of the Federal Reserve Bank. What does that mean? It means the people who create the money. What runs everything? Does the Pentagon work for free? No, the Pentagon has a multi-trillion-dollar budget. Do they create the money that gives them? No. What does? The Federal Reserve Bank. Who is the Reserve Bank over the Federal Reserve Bank? The Bank for International Settlements, which is called the Central Bank of the Central Banks, and it's also called the Lender of Last Resort. And it holds 10% of GDP in cash reserves of 80 countries. And don't believe me, do a Google search for Basel Accords, Bank for International Settlements, Basel III, using the Roman numerals. Or you can just use III or Basel III, the number 3, but that's how you're going to get the most responses to the queries. We've exposed them. My apologies.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking when I Googled, you asked the governor about Israel banking, and he said Israel, because I watched it all last night, and by the way, I enjoyed it. But you mentioned to him, you said, well, how do you feel about Israel? He said, Israel's our friend, and anybody that speaks, they are, and Pastor, I know you're going to help me out with this, but people said, Israel are the chosen people. You talk about Israel, and God will be an issue, because they are chosen people. How dare you?
That's what people been taught.
That's a scam. That's a scam because the individuals who run Israel, they're what's known as the Ashkenazim, and there's DNA tests now. So there's do a search for Johns Hopkins University Israelis not real Jews DNA testing. This basically shows that this is just a scam, that these people, the Ashkenazim, which are the descendants of Khazarian Turkic, what they used to call prairie pirates, who come from around the area of the modern-day state of Georgia and the Caspian Sea. They are the descendants of Indo-Europeans and these Turkic Khazars. These are not Semitic people. They don't have anything to do with the tribes of Israel. If the tribes of Israel as a body of people even existed. If that is the case, these individuals are not in any way related to them. And they have basically gone into a country and stated the ultimate trump card in that they say, give us all your land, give us all your money, and the reason is because we're chosen by God. But already been disproved. But if one looks at how that started, and this gets back into how all the Nazis were Jews and they were pushing forward the Zionist agenda, something called Jewish Palestine was initiated and started during the Nazi government control of the so-called state of Germany. And its number one client state was Nazi Germany. This was a plan all along. They, the Balfour Declaration, which was, the British control of Palestine was handed over to Lord Rothschild. Check out behind me. This is called the Balfour Declaration. This gives the state of Israel, or at that point it was called Palestine, to the Rothschilds, who were the bankrollers of what they call modern day Zionism. And you can tie that back to Moses Hess and who they think it was is Theodore Herzl. And then you go, well, where was the first Jewish Congress held? Basel, Switzerland. So there you go. Where is the European headquarters of world Jewry? It's in Switzerland. They want to say, oh, this stuff is Nazi, like it's Aryan or it's German or something. Man, these people, they didn't look like other Germans. Hitler wasn't even German. And the blood test showed that he was Jewish. And most of the leaders of the Nazi Party were Jewish. They rule by deception. Whatever they want you to think, that's generally what individuals will think.
And a key word to research for you to look up is look at the term dual. Because dual is going to explain to you how they manipulate a lot of these things, at least to us, even with the media, how these people who we think are against each other are funded and supported by the same power, same brain. It's that bird again that has the right wing and the left wing.
Amen.
And they make us believe they're fighting and fussing, but they're playing golf. It's all under one spell, so to speak. So
the best way to lead the opposition the best way to control the opposition is to lead it. And that happens every time. Who's leading the opposition? It's not the opposition. It's the same body. It's the same thing. They have the same agenda. And how are they going to push forward the agenda? They can't just say, oh yeah, we're going to Ashkenazim are going to take over every bit. And when I say this, I'm not saying all the Ashkenazim are in on it. When the people at the top of all different nationalities, when they operate, they will throw their own under the bus, and they will even make that part of the plan. Because this is about bloodline. And, that's pretty much it. But that doesn't mean they won't sacrifice members of their own family. It's a rare thing, but it does happen.
Man, thank you so much for calling.
I'm about to get this CD because Mr. George, when I first of all, you get a little deep, so I'm going to have to get it and research it because I have to learn on my own base because a lot of times when they call early, I'm going to leave after this, people are comfortable in their comfort zone.
Yep.
And a lot of times people just want to be simple. They don't want to know anything else, and they feel comfortable. And so when they hear something different, they feel challenged. But I just want to thank you, Pastor Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I'm telling you, Chris. I don't want to look as though I'm trying to strike. But I don't want to leave my audience behind because I know they have no clue. I have to start with the very basis of it. When you start talking about, they're looking like, what is he talking about? And you're talking right. And I have some idea of what you're saying, and some have an idea, but a great deal of them is like, they still believe they were born free. Let me say this, because we got to cut out. But I'm going to say this. He'll be back next Tuesday. He's already convicted that the Lord willing. I'll be here tomorrow, and I plan to talk probably to several churches about Halloween, live on the air. I'm also going to deal with some of these other things that are tied to the lunar. I want you to research the lunar occult, or the lunar cult rather, which is dealing with the worship of the moon, the worship of stars, and that's why even the word money. I'm going to show you tomorrow how money, the term mon and mint, are both words that mean moon. And that's where you get the term mint when you're talking about money. It's green. And we're going to deal with the color green. all of these things mean something, and that's why all of this is based around astro-religion. It's just
Astrotheology.
right. Astrotheology is the right word. That's right.
Yeah.
Stars, moon, and so that's why they give the kids
Right.
a star. They give them stars when they do something good. The celebrities that make it, we call them superstars.
Right.
Even the word diva. Look up the word diva.
Yep.
Diva is tied into astrotheology. It's tied into sun, star, moon worship.
Well, look at the Islamic flag. Look at
Bingo.
the
The moon goddess again.
well, and yeah, it's the crescent moon.
Right.
And yeah, that's it. I mean, Christianity. I mean, that's the worship of the sun.
And you know
On
what?
Sunday.
I catch it all the time when I tell people that Christianity is a mutt religion. It's a smorgasbord of different religions
Oh yeah,
mushed together. And they get so mad with me as a pastor that I'm standing up and telling
that's a
them,
fact.
I hate Christianity. I despise it. And all these preachers that are listening to me, I'm already blackballed, so ain't nothing y'all can do to me. Nothing you can do to me. So what? You don't let me come preach at your church, whatever. But let's clear this up right here. Christianity is a joke. It's a hoax. It is sun worship. Just like Saturnalians for those. But some of you think you're better. Yeah, that's why we don't go to church on Sunday. We're Saturday. You're Saturday worshipers, which is Saturn.
Yeah.
Same deal. Just once again, we got those two opposing groups. I worship on Saturdays. I worship on Sundays. That's why I'm telling you, you need to understand. And then again, this is why you have the term lunatic.
Yeah. Because they say the sun, the full moon makes you go crazy.
Lunatic.
And more crimes are committed on
The full moon. We can go on and
They're
on.
on to something.
Tomorrow we're going to deal with this whole tie down to religion, the church. We may talk to a few churches. So we have a short day tomorrow. Chris will be back next Tuesday. Cameras rolling, I guess. And we're going to spend another 2 or 3 hours digging some more, talking some more. I want to thank you, Chris. I want to thank our brother here who's been filming so faithfully. I want to thank Preston Brown, WCLM, for affording us the opportunity. And I want to give all praise to God for the strength, the breath, the boldness, the power, because I can do nothing of myself. I don't have any power, no ability, but I thank Him for a mind. I actually want to say thank you, Lord, for a mind to even want to give this truth. Because Chris could go home and say, to hell with all of y'all, I'm going to keep this for myself and my family. But he gets out here fussing and getting the crap beat out of him and moving around and this, that, and the other for the sake of bringing you truth, and he doesn't get anything in return. So I want to thank all the freedom fighters, the true freedom fighters, all those who are proactive, all those who are standing upon what's right and what's righteous. And I want to say, don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We got to go. Also, I want to thank sitting in with us now, Mr. August Moon, who just came in and sat in with us today. And I want to recognize him as well as being an elder, and we're getting ready to close out. So we're getting ready to go. Mr. Moon, you don't have nothing quick to say to you. Wow, okay. Well, we're going to leave it at that. We got to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, next Tuesday, Chris Dorsey will be back. Spread the word. We may do this another month. I may say let's make it another every month, every Tuesday for the rest of the year. I don't know. Let's just do it. And that's tough. That's just tough.
Yeah.
Like the people, they're eating. They're eating, believe it or not. The more we talk, they're eating. And that's what I love. It's just information. A lot of them have not received this much information ever. So Chris,
They'll be able to handle it because I will say one thing. I'm not a smart person.
me either.
This is me not being smart. This is me being simple. And the simple thing that expands the mind.
And choosing to look at the simple thing and not let it be hidden in plain sight. Let it, sometimes I think it's what we just refuse to see. That's right in front of us.
That's right.
And so
Everything's hidden in plain sight.
men love darkness rather than light. We're out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. Don't forget Underground Bible Study tonight at the Word Church. And again, those who don't know, come on Sunday. We're dealing with the occult, witchcraft, soul ties, and all that at the Word Church on Sunday, dealing with relationships from a spiritual aspect. Stuff that you don't get at your normal church, I promise you. Come out. And of course, y'all will do that to me, so we'll take a quick call, a quick 20-second call. You're on the air. Thank you for holding.
Well, thank you for the milk, but the meat is better.
All right. Well, what's the meat?
Well, that's what I learned from you.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much. All right. I'll tell you this. Time to wake up. Time to wake up. And if these things seem like they're lies, the man told you, I don't know how many times I heard Chris say, do a search. Go check. He's not telling you take his word for anything. And neither do I. All this, and I'm closing with this, all the stuff I've said to you all over the years, y'all have caught hell about. When I told you about tithing, y'all got mad with me. I'm freeing your pockets up, and you got mad with, you got angry with me. It's amazing to me. But I tell you to research. And after a while, some of you all will come around and say, you know, Pastor, you're right. Well, listen to me. These preachers are agents of the devil. And I'm going to say it just like it is. Any church participating in Halloween or any of these festivities, I was going down Chamberlain Avenue. What's the name of that big church? It was a real big church.
St. Paul's?
No. This is
Big Lambert?
No. This is one of those historic, right off of Chamberlain Avenue. They have like 200 pumpkins outside. The whole place is full of pumpkins.
That's a Catholic church.